What's up YouTube, it's your boy Danny James here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create this floating hands effect inside of Adobe After Effects. Before we jump into the video, remember you can always support this channel by visiting my online digital store. You can find a preset or a pack that you might like, check out, and that's the easiest way that you can help grow this platform. Now if you do end up enjoying this content, kindly give it a like, subscribe so that you can always be notified about my new videos every other day. Now let's jump into After Effects. Before we get into After Effects, I'd like to show you where I got this idea from. I got this idea from this video by Tanasha, Donna and Barak. So it happens at around 140. Just look at it, how the hands float away. Yeah, something like that. So let's recreate it on After Effects. Now the first thing that you want to do here, you want to identify a part of the video where you want this effect to come on. Right here, I'll hit Ctrl+Shift+D so that I can split this layer, give it a different color as always. On this layer, we can get our rotoscope tool right here and then draw a quick rotoscope around our subject. Double click on the clip so that it takes you to a layers panel and not the composition panel. With the rotoscope tool, remember you can always reduce the size of the brush here. Make sure your brushes are enabled. You'll by default have a big brush like this. You want a slightly smaller brush, so like this one. I'll rotoscope one hand. In this case, I'll go with the left hand. This part of the hand, it's really the palm, not the hand. A quick rotoscope. Like that, and then I'll go frame by frame, tracking this movement. Okay, so we are done with that one. As soon as you are done following frame by frame, click here to freeze that selection. Okay, so once the freezing is done, come back to our composition. Let's see our selection. It's that tiny, so that's good. I'm going to increase the feather, maybe shift edge a little bit. Just playing with this. I'll reduce the chatter. That's it. I'll rename this layer to left hand, and then I'll duplicate it and then duplicate, delete the roto. Let's rename this other one right hand. Okay, the beginning of the clip, double click so that it takes us to a layers panel. Again, we are doing the same process. Do a roto for the right hand. I'll reduce my brush size so that I can eliminate this side. Again, I'm back from my preview pane. Now we go frame by frame once again, the same steps that we just did. Okay, so that's done. Again, I'll hit freeze. Okay, once that's done, we go back to our composition, go back to your selection tool also. Now you can see we have the two hands here. I'll refine the feathering just a bit and reduce the chatter. Shift edge not as much. You guys know that you don't have to change these settings. The last step, we're going to duplicate our left hand or right hand. Duplicate it, and then let's rename the last one roto plus background, and then let's delete the roto brush from that layer so that it stays right below. Now we're going to add some keyframes for the right hand and left hand. Let's begin with the right hand. Just hit P and S, hold shift, hit S, add a keyframe for position and scaling. But before we do anything, let me just delete those keyframes. Now before we do anything, I want us to adjust the anchor point so that whenever we adjust the position or scale, it happens in respective to that position. An easy method, let me first show only this part of the hand. So that roto brush, I'll get my anchor point tool and then I'll put it right there. You can experiment, increase the scaling and see what happens. So it's acting with respective to what we want. Now I'll go back to my selection tool, add a keyframe for position and scale. I'll re-enable all the layers, go a bit to my right here, increase the scaling so you can see it comes towards the front. Okay, you can also adjust the positioning where you want it to go. So right there is good, and then the eventual position, it should go away from the camera. So we'll have it drift away from the camera. We'll push it directly like this, take it like that. Okay, now let's preview this quickly and see what it looks like. Okay, so we want it to come up to about right there, and then we want it to stick to that position for a few seconds. So we'll copy the same keyframes that are right here so that it sticks to that position, and then it goes away from there. So I'll squeeze that keyframe further, put these keyframes a bit to the middle, and then remember, after everything, highlight on all your keyframes, put them on easy ease. We're going to do the same for the left hand. Let's hit U on our right hand. The scaling went up to 330, so we want to make sure we have something that looks a bit equal. Hit S, hold shift and hit P. We have a position and scale here, but before we add the keyframes, remember we're going to adjust the anchor point. Let's show this layer only, put this anchor point about right there. Go back to your selection tool, add a keyframe for position and scale. I'm going to hit U on this layer that's above us so that you can track and use those keyframes. Put the scalings to 313, and then the position, it needs to be right here onto the left side, and then we'll have the same keyframe stay there, so add these keyframes manually, and then we'll go towards the end right here, push these out of the frame in the same fashion. Let's put everything on easy ease and preview that one. Okay, so they look congruent to each other, so that's something good. I'll make sure that they stick a bit right here, so I'll add some time before it flies away, and do the same for this other one. Okay, that's good. Now one more thing we need to do, we need to add a small effect, and that's the tint effect, so that they don't have just the same color. Put it on the left hand or the right hand, map the black to white so it has that grayish feel. Copy that same effect to the other hand like that. And then one last detail is to add motion blur. Add motion blur to those two rotoscopes. You can adjust the blurriness by going to your composition settings and to the advanced tab. Shutter angle of 180 looks fine by me. Alright, so now let's preview this animation and see what it looks like. That looks good. I can only notice that at this point they don't look congruent to each other. Just hit U and go to this keyframe. Remember, go to the middle keyframe. You can align this left hand manually using your mouse wheel or just clicking around, and then we'll make sure that these two keyframes are the same ones here. So I'll come right here and manually create those keyframes once again. So I think they should be congruent with the first one, so align those two keyframes to the first one, and now everything should look good. Yeah, that looks dope. The hands come in, they scale a bit, which is good for the eye, and then they fly away with the motion blur enabled. That's it. Quite simple and quite straightforward too. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching this video. If you do end up doing something like this, tag me on my Instagram. My handle is right below in the description box. I'm happy to see what you guys do with this one. Also, if you've enjoyed watching this video, kindly give it a like so that other people with the same interest as you get to be recommended on the same content. My name is Danny James. See you in the next video. Peace.